China has pledged that it will not build any coal power plants abroad, and it will start to phase out coal consumption starting from the 15th five-year period. That's 2026 onwards.
This was just a great example of the New York Times where they report something positive being done by China. Things like China's put in bullet trains, but at what cost? Or China, this is a true headline, China may have cured cancer, but at what cost? I kid you not. That's not even a joke. That was a real thing that happened. So here's the latest one. And they avoided the but at what cost. And they used basically a identical phrase or a similar phrase. Xi Jinping thinks China can slow climate change. What if he's right? Dun, dun, dun. They use a sinister image of him. What if he actually slows climate change? Oh, dear God. Xi Jinping, the leader of China, is in fact making a decades-long bet that China can dominate the global transition to green energy. Boy, that sounds like a good thing. With his one-party state acting, of course, we also have a one-party state. For those of you who don't understand, email me. I'll explain. His one-party state acting as the driving force in a way that free markets cannot or will not. His ultimate goal is not just to address one of humanity's most urgent problems, climate change, but also to position China as the global savior in the process. And here's the thing. If China actually slows or stops climate crisis, they would be the global savior. Absolutely. That is what that would be. And sorry, New York Times, you just have to deal with the fact that our idiot system did nothing to slow climate change, climate crisis, while China, it seems, is actually working on it. So much so that they're actually getting coverage in the New York Times, although the New York Times is trying to make it seem like a bad thing. Some of you maybe are hearing this and you're going, China has more emissions than any country in the world, or second to the US or something like that. That is true. However, per capita, they're nowhere near us, like per number of people. Because and this is going to blow your mind, nation states don't actually matter. They're just a way of thinking about the world, but we should try and evolve beyond that. What? And so if you actually think about the number of humans per capita, China's nowhere near the emissions of the United States because China has 1.4 billion people. So it is just dumb to be like, but China has a lot of emissions. But what this article is saying, and this article, New York Times loves criticizing China. That's their main goal, apparently. It says, continues, in the recent years, the transition away from fossil fuels has become Mr. Xi's mantra and the common thread in China's industrial policies. It's yielding results. China is now the world's leading manufacturer of climate-friendly technologies, such as solar panels, batteries, and electric vehicles. Last year, the energy transition was China's single biggest driver of overall investment and economic growth, making it the first large economy to achieve that. This raises an important question for the U.S. and all humanity. Is Mr. Xi right? What? Could China be right about something? Here's something else that I'm sure is going to blow everyone's mind. If we're going to have nation states and we're stuck in this, we should look at the ones doing something right and then adopt the right thing they're doing, rather than what the U.S. empire does, which is throw out all of the stuff that's being done correctly by China or so many other countries and just go our own way, our own hegemonic, just destructive way. We're just going to go down that path as fast as possible, metal to the accelerator. Wait, accelerator to the metal. Metal to the pedal. Wait, no, pedal to the metal. Although if you're driving a Tesla Cybertruck, when you put the pedal to the metal will then hold the pedal down and you are fucked. Like that is, for those of you who don't know, they just recalled all the Cybertrucks, which they only got like 12 out there, but of those 12, they're all faulty now, where the covering can slide off the accelerator, jam under the seat or under the console, and then you can't stop the car, which sounds like a blast, literally. Sounds like a great time, really, to not be able to stop accelerating in a car. The article continues, is a state-directed system like China's better positioned to solve a generational crisis like climate change? Or is a decentralized market approach, i.e. the American way, the answer? A few things. It's manipulative in a variety of ways. The answer is yes, you do need a large planned society to make grand changes like switching away from the industries that are destroying this planet, even when those industries are incredibly powerful and incredibly rich, such as the oil industry, such as the deforestation lumber industry, such as even just big sugar, big agriculture. Oh my God, that is harmful to the planet. Just decimating the planet. Big meat, especially. And so, yeah, you do need large societal changes. But the part that's manipulative is New York Times is pretending that the U.S. just has free markets, right? Our markets are just free. No, it is inverted totalitarianism. So it's ruled by the anonymous corporate state. The corporate state controls the markets, controls the government. Nothing goes through the government that doesn't align with corporate interests, because why would corporations ever allow something to go through that doesn't align with corporate interests? Even in the moments where you think something went through that did not align with corporate interests. Let's give an example of Obamacare, right? Obamacare was something that went against the healthcare industry. They were all making lots of money. They don't want to have to take care of people who don't have the money to pay or don't have as much money to pay. And so there's kind of a very slightly cheaper alternative for some people. In a lot of states, it's insane, though, still, the cost of healthcare. But here's the thing, though. Corporate America did agree with Obamacare because it pushed millions, I think 26 or 30 million people who were not on healthcare. It pushed them onto healthcare. They now have to get healthcare or they get fined. And so it pushed largely healthy. Some of them were maybe sick or older, but largely healthy people onto healthcare, which means they're now paying into the system. So corporate America, it was a fuckfest over at corporate America. They're having a blast. They loved it. And Obamacare, the original idea of Obamacare came from Mitt Romney and other Republicans. So it was a Republican idea. Some of you might have seen, there's been horrific flooding in UAE and other areas recently, which is part of climate crisis. Yes, that's how it works. It is horrific. It destroys lives. It's destroying lives all over the world right now. And there are millions upon millions upon millions of climate refugees right now. Not 10 years from now. Right now, there are millions of climate refugees. This is saying that cloud seeding, geoengineering, exacerbated the deadly flooding in the Gulf countries. The death toll from severe flooding that hit the UAE, Oman, and other Gulf countries rose to almost 20 on Tuesday. But of course, the death rate is not 20. Doesn't sound like that many people, but it's not really about the death rate. It's about you destroy whole communities. You destroy people's lives. Like, yeah, maybe they survived, but that's not the number one worry, really. Anyway, with homes and businesses across the Gulf damaged by the heavy rains and flights delayed or canceled, analysts told Middle East Eye that climate change, infrastructure, the region's geography, and cloud seeding in the UAE may have exacerbated the flooding. Al Ain, an Emirati oasis city on the border with Oman, there was 254 millimeters of rain, was recorded in less than 24 hours. That marked the highest level since records began in 1949. Climate change has indeed contributed to an increased risk of flooding across the Middle East. To deal with water scarcity issues, water security issues, the UAE has since 2002 carried out cloud seeding, a weather modification procedure which involves implanting chemicals into the atmosphere to induce rainfall. Cloud seeding likely, and by the way, it's being done in the U.S. I brought you that story several weeks ago. It's been done in the U.S. for several years now in certain areas. Cloud seeding likely contributed to the severity. However, the UAE's recent history of devastating flash floods like those in 2020, 2022 shows that recent bouts of heavy rainfall are the baseline of the increasing frequency of extreme rainfall events driven by climate change. He said that cloud seeding could exacerbate such weather patterns and lead to even more severe flooding in the future. I wanted to bring you the story not just to remind everyone that climate crisis is now. It's not something that's going to happen later. It is happening now. On top of that, we already are geoengineering in various ways. I mean, of course, climate change is geoengineering to begin with. It's just not intentional geoengineering. So most of the time when people talk about geoengineering, they're talking about intentional as opposed to what burning fossil fuels is doing. We're already doing it in various ways. They're trying cloud seeding. They're also trying pumping other things into the atmosphere to try and reflect away sunshine, but the sun's rays. But there's just so many question marks around this stuff. And here's an example of geoengineering. Maybe it's helped them with rainfall, but here's an example of how it backfires. They didn't know that they were going to cause catastrophic flooding. So there's just so many question marks around geoengineering, but we're quickly getting to the point that people are not going to survive for another 100 years if we just keep destroying everything. I also like to make the point whenever we talk about climate crisis that that is not the only way that the market economics and capitalism are destroying our planet. That's just one of the ways. It may be the most pressing, but you know, the filling the oceans with plastic and chopping down all the trees is not climate crisis. You can make it worse, but it's not. We're killing the planet in so many ways. So for those of you who just like, I can't handle it with the climate crisis, don't worry. There are other ways we're murdering the planet that you can also look at and enjoy. So check that out.